Hello?
Hi there, I'm looking for Chuck.
Yeah, this is.
Hey Chuck, this is Cassius Morris calling for the interview. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How you doing, man?
Hey, going fantastic. I just want to say I really appreciate your time. It's a pleasure to speak with you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, no problem, man.
Awesome. So are you ready to just jump in right now?
Sure.
Okay, very cool. And we have Mr. Chuck Billy here on the line, legendary vocalist of Testament. So Chuck, tell me what's been going on in your world lately. Give us a little bit of an update.
Well, now we're right in the middle of starting to work on the new record.
Oh, nice.
So we finished the Slayer run in the U.S. in August, and been home just kind of bashing riffs around, and that's it. And we're in that cycle. We hope to shoot to have a record out, next year. So
nice.
Taking the rest of this year to try to hopefully complete the record.
Very cool. So has it been about a month that you've been working on that, or a matter of weeks?
About a month.
Okay.
Yeah, about a month. We took some time off when we get home just to chill.
Yeah, definitely. Probably a much-needed recharge. What helps you sort of get into that recharge mode after being on the road? Because, obviously it's incredibly physically demanding.
Well, it's a little of everything. I mean, being away from home, not sleeping in your own bed and all that. I mean, yeah, you kind of miss it. So just being home, not doing anything, being home with the dogs. And, me and my wife, we live on the water, so we do a lot of boating. Okay. So we just were fortunate enough to get home during the summer. So we got home and got to actually enjoy a summer, which is a rarity. Usually we're over in Europe, but this year we happened to be home. So it was pretty good summer.
Very cool. I can imagine that would be a very busy concert season that time of year, obviously. How is it managing that work-family, balance when it comes to being on the road? It's a profession that's definitely demanding in different ways than most.
Yeah, I mean, I could see, people starting families later in life and, missing their kids. And fortunate for me, our son is 31 now, so he's beyond. He went on tour with us when he was younger and experienced a road with us. So, and my wife got to travel with us, and she actually works for the band now, so she gets to travel on tour and work for the band. So,
very cool.
It's a good family thing now.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. That sounds like a good way to incorporate it for sure. And on another note about touring, we're seeing a lot of groups coming out right now going on tour, and they're using a lot of aid from either people under the stage, on the side of the stage, be it through keyboards or vocal enhancements. I'm just curious on your thoughts on that, on the use of enhancements during live shows and rock and roll.
Well, I mean, I guess to each his own, but, we were out with Heaven and Hell, for an example, and the keyboard player and background singer, he wasn't on the stage. He was behind the back line. Sometimes even set up outside off the stage. I mean,
yeah.
But it's an important part to the show. It's he adds that element, and maybe they're just not known for the keyboard to be on stage. So I mean, each band has their own approach, I guess.
Yeah.
And a lot more people are experimenting with more samples for the drummer taking control. A lot of stuff run on, tempos. They keep the tempo and run all the effects and background vocals and rhythm guitars.
Yeah.
From the drummer's starting position. So it's a lot changed now, for sure.
Yeah. So you don't feel that it takes anything away from maybe the classic groups who didn't do it before and are maybe starting to do it now?
I wouldn't say it takes away. I mean, the guys for Black Sabbath, they did that for a long time. So,
yes.
I guess it all depends for how each band is, what they feel. I mean, if they're represented as a 4-piece and don't want the keyboard player and the saxophone player in the photo and on stage, I could understand it, or if it's all sampled just so they don't have those members on stage, I understand that as well,
Yeah, absolutely. There's many different elements to make, the grand sound that I guess people are expecting. And when it comes to your voice, how do you maintain your voice after so many years of touring?
Well, I try to focus on, when it comes to a tour, I definitely do my pre-tour, get my lungs in order and ride a bike and a little jogging and, calm down on the smoking of weed and things like that. So I do prepare, and then I do some just, every time I've ever sang, I warm up for an hour. So I don't do a show or start singing unless I do an hour warm up every day. So that's kind of like my routine.
Right.
So I kind of stick in that routine, and maybe at this point it's more of a mental thing probably than, warming up.
Yeah.
But it's what I do, and it gets me through every time I do it. I think if I went to sing without doing a warm up, I'd feel like, oh shoot, I'm not ready. It might be just a mental thing,
It's like a runner or anything else, right?
Yeah, it's like stretching, basically.
Definitely. And of course, you mentioned smoking, and you're actually involved with a really exciting new product called the Chief, the herbal vaporizer pens.
Oh, yeah.
Was that part of your influence to start going through that to help your voice out a little bit, or was there other elements to it as well?
Well, originally when I was approached back in 2014, when Lord Vapor first approached me to do a vaporizer, I was like, it was kind of new to the market, and I was just trying it. And when I did try it, it was better for the voice, and that's the first thing that came to mind as well. I could probably, it's probably easier for me to use this on tour because like when I get on tour, I try not to smoke really.
Yeah.
So that would probably be a better way to still get stoned, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where it started out. And then recently, Lord Vapor was sold, and the new owner, he put out the new line of Chief products right now, and we expanded it to an herbal vaporizer, and also there's an oil cartridge vaporizer, and we have just a straight weed pipe as well, and also a lot of just Chief of Thrash merchandising, T-shirts, and all kinds of other good stuff. So it's kind of expanded, and I think the market from 2014 to where we are today just took off, as far as the cannabis business.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many new advancements, and you're right. It definitely is. It is better for the throat and the lungs. There's nothing wrong with the chemical, but when it comes to, inhaling the dried plant matter, that's a whole different story, right? So I definitely encourage everybody to check out LordVaporUSA.com and take advantage of some fantastic deals that are going on from now until Cyber Monday. They also have free shipping available on all U.S. orders for this period of time. I have a question here from a fan of yours, actually, by the name of John Michelle Parks. And the question is, they're curious about your physical media collection. What type of releases do you hold on to or cherish, be it vinyl, cassettes, or CDs?
Well, it's more vinyl now, I got to be honest. I've been trying to collect a lot more vinyl than CDs. I've kind of stopped buying CDs. And most of my CDs that I actually own, I've downloaded them already into my computer or onto a hard drive. So I almost have no need for the CD itself. I really don't grab a disc and pop it in. It's already on my phone or something. So,
right.
But vinyl, now that's another story. I've been trying to collect a lot of stuff I grew up listening to, rarities I haven't seen. And it's just, to me, it's fun because just the old dropping the needle and the sound of the needle hitting the record.
Yeah.
And then just the way they sound, it's a lot warmer. And I just remember back when, when we first started doing records, we were making records for vinyl. So you would do a test pressing, and you would keep making those test pressings until you got the right sound and vibe and bottom end and tone and crisp high end on it. You kept burning those until you got it right, to where, today I think a lot of people just take a CD mix and then burn it on vinyl, and it's not the same. I think there is a trick to getting vinyls to sound awesome, and that's the old approach of keep making test pressing until it's correct. But I love buying the old classic vinyls of the old bands because of that reason, that they're actually mixed for that vinyl, and they have a special sound, and you do hear it,
Yeah, absolutely. That's so correct. So did that have an effect on the way you started making music through the years, or did it not?
Not so much, because vinyl wasn't as popular, I'd say,
Right.
Last 10 years, I'd say it's kind of took off over the last maybe 5 years, I guess. And, even like our releases on Nuclear Blast, there's all kinds of different type of vinyls they release, different colors and blood splatters and, all kinds of different versions of it, which is pretty awesome. So I could see the trend that, there is a market for them because all the vinyls do sell really quick, and they're starting to print more and more of them. Problem we have, though, is a lot of the presses in the U.S. they've been sold or they're broken down. They just don't work because we haven't had the need for pressing vinyl. So I know, like on our last vinyl, we pretty much had to get our order in almost like 4 months, 5 months ahead of the release date just to make sure we got the vinyl in time for the release. So, it was kind of a backup and you're like in line. So I think whoever's got, some big, deep pockets and are making vinyl presses down. I think Metallica even bought a vinyl press just so they're, could do their own thing.
Yeah.
It is definitely growing, but I think it's cool. But I think people need to keep in mind, you got to mix them records for the vinyl. That's the key to have, especially for newer bands trying to put their music on vinyl today. We really got to make sure it's right.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of importance to that. And even, especially with other genres, it's definitely a lot more noticeable. It's like a lot of these records just simply weren't made for vinyl, and it would be nice if they would be. I want to ask you about a story that broke today, actually, and it's a story about yourself, and it's from Phil Campbell talking about the day that there was a horse involved in a stage performance. And apparently you had a big hand in setting this up. I'm just curious on your recollections of these events.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was 2010. We were on tour with Heaven and Hell, Judas Priest, and Motorhead and Testament. It was a Metal Masters tour. It was a great tour. And me and Phil became friends, and soon, really quick in the tour, we realized that Phil was a real prankster and liked to have a lot of fun and was always pulling pranks. So the tour began to be pranks. We started going to prank stores, buying things to kind of prank each other. And towards the last end of the tour, I think it was maybe a day or two before that week, I told Phil, I said, I got this Playboy Playmate that wants to come down to the show and see you, and he's like, oh yeah, you don't say. And I'm like, yeah, she'll be here in this city. So it wasn't actually a Playboy Playmate. It was actually a blow up of a Playboy Playmate,
right.
One of the sex dolls. And I put it side stage, and I had a megaphone, and I had this little fart machine I'd put in front of this megaphone and shoot farts to him all during his show while they were playing. And he was kind of like upset because he thought I was bringing a hot, Playboy chick to him. And it ended up being also, he was upset. So he didn't talk to me for like 2 or 3 days. And I thought, oh shit, what did I do? I pissed him off. But the tour was coming. Little did I know he was planning the master plan of all end tour gags. Is he had ordered a horse the morning of the last show, ordered a horse, and he wanted to come riding out in the middle of our set on a horse, wearing the dress that Ronnie James Dio had bought him during the tour, and a purple wig. And Lemmy was behind the horse with a turban on and a broom sweeping up the horse poop, while Mickey D was in front of the horse, dressed up with a poncho and a Mexican hat, pulling the horse with Phil on it.
Oh my gosh.
And it was that was like the hugest prank. I mean, that morning, he just didn't rent the horse. He bought the horse. It was like $15,000 he had to buy that horse that morning.
He was so dedicated to that gag.
He was so dedicated, but he didn't stop with us. He did it. He got everybody. For Heaven and Hell, he bought 2,000 newspapers. So when they came out on their first song, the whole first 2,000 people in the front row held up newspapers in front of their faces, like they were reading the newspaper.
That is insane.
Yeah, so he pulled off the master end of tour prank of all pranks. I don't think anybody could ever top Phil Campbell when it comes to pulling a stunt.
Wow.
And that one went down in history.
Absolutely. That's incredible. I mean, you hear about all these rivalries. Was that something that was really common with Motorhead when you would be involved with them? Was it always a lot of fun with Lemmy?
It was always a lot of fun. Lemmy was serious, but Phil was the jokester. Phil and Mickey D, they were the ones having all the fun, pulling the jokes and pranks. But more so Phil. Phil just, he was just bored out there. He just wanted to have fun all day and do a show and, have the party and just have fun.
Yeah.
And it really made it was one of the best tours I've had because it was fun, great people. It was just awesome.
Yeah, it always sounds like it was always a really good vibe around him for sure. And real quick, since we're speaking on some of the other groups of your colleagues of that era, it was just announced today that this evening Phil Anselmo is going to be doing a full Pantera show, start to finish. I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on that, on his involvement in Pantera nowadays.
Well, I mean, he's probably always had to walk, a little bit on eggshells just because of everything. And for him to do it at this point, I mean, I don't know how everybody would look at it, but I look at it as awesome, Yeah. He's been a part of that band and the story of that band and the history of that band, and he should celebrate that band and let everybody enjoy that band, and with him singing, a front man singing that, awesome. It can't get any more real than that, when you're hearing Phil singing those songs.
Absolutely. I tend to agree because, being a fan who wasn't necessarily around during that generation to see the original thing, if I had the chance to see Phil go and do that, that would be really special to me. So, I do think it's a positive thing. Colby
for sure.
Cardinal sent in the question. He wants to know, how long have you had your epic mic stand?
Since day one. I think, I don't know how it came about. It was always just comfortable having a stand. I don't know. I think because I was always a guitar player, and I've always wanted to be a guitar player singer. So I love to air guitar. So I think that's just kind of was just natural to have the stand so I can kind of air guitar with it.
Yeah.
And it just from day one and just never looked back,
That's awesome. Yeah, it's one of the trademark things that really sets you apart. Of course, we all love it. I want to thank you again so much for your time today, Chuck. Of course, the fans are curious. You guys have the album potentially dropping next year. That's what's in the works, so we're very excited for that. Can fans expect anything else in the way of touring coming up?
No touring. We pretty much just closed the books for that and just want to get the record done, focus on that. There'll be plenty of time to tour once the record's done. We'll get out there and work our ass off,
Yeah, absolutely. So the fans have a lot to look forward to coming up from Testament. Of course, we're all very excited. And everybody has to go check out LordVaporUSA.com. If you smoke cannabis, definitely take advantage of the vaporizers. It's much better for your system. They have insane deals going on from now till the end of Cyber Monday, including free U.S. shipping on all U.S. orders. Chuck, thank you so much again for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. You have a good one, okay?
You too. Take care.
All right, bye now.